Social media is changing the way angel investors operate. That's a key story out here on the West Coast with Silicon Valley and how they can fund innovation. Ron Conway founded SV Angel. They've invested in companies like GroupMe, Square, Hipmunk, Social Deck. Joining me now is David Lee, one of the chief architects of strategy with SV Angel. And David, what do you mean by saying social media has changed things? Is it just Twitter, Facebook now can put any guy with a good idea in touch with someone like you?
No, I think it's the general idea that I think in the past 5 years, there's been a dramatic shift in the way that people consume, share, and create content. I think maybe 10 years ago, people got their information and media from TV Guide, the broadcast channels. Now they're getting that information from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, from sharing from their friends. And then the second sort of track or trend in that area is the mobile device and the emergence of the mobile device. And that's the ideal device to consume this type of content. So every time there's that type of shift, we think that's a great investment opportunity.
You know, I've been saying, and coming out here to the West Coast and talking to guys are at the forefront of funding innovation here, it's a different mentality. There's almost a hyper focus on the product you're trying to bring to market that's different from the broader strategies you get back in the East Coast when you talk to CEOs. Do you feel in any way insulated from the broader economy, or is it just the focus is so much more on the product rather than the environment?
Yeah, I think it's more of the latter. I don't think it's an ignorance or a naivete about what's happening in the broader world, but I think there's this idealism that if you build something that people want, as you know, I think that's the slogan of Y Combinator, which is a startup program here in Silicon Valley. If you build something that people will want, that will solve a lot of problems in terms of creating a business or solving problems, generally speaking.
Well, talk to me about that model of how you fund innovation and get those entrepreneurs going. We're mentioning Y Combinator there. The idea behind it, somewhat controversial. It's about $150,000 convertible loan that you offer some of these entrepreneurs with ideas. It's sort of you hit a broad swath of people coming forward with concepts to you that way, rather than focusing a big investment on a few small individuals. Why did you choose this model?
So our view, and this is an approach that's really been pioneered by my partner Ron Conway, which is the idea of picking a few sectors that we like and really focusing on those sectors and investing, using a portfolio approach to invest in more companies across narrower sectors, with the idea that it's harder to pick the winners at this early stage.
We're showing some of the ones you recently funded there: Swipe Good, Noteleaf, Grub With Us. Is there a theme within those groups?
Sure. I think the theme is that these people, these young founders, they're building something. I think they really personify their business, and hopefully they'll personify their company, or they're building something for themselves. Every single startup has a story, and that story is a problem that they're solving for themselves. Oh, go ahead.
You know, when I've talked to people out here who are entrepreneurs, who have started some successful businesses in Silicon Valley, they say, you know, when they were young and they were starting out, if they had been offered a $150,000 convertible loan without board members there hanging over their heads, sort of pushing them back from your head's in the clouds, get a little bit more focused on developing the strategy a little bit more, they say that would have hurt them. What do you say to people like that, or skeptics of this model?
Yeah, I think it cuts both ways. I think it's important to emphasize that we've worked with Y Combinator for the past 5 years. We've really gotten to know their founders very well on a professional and personal level. And so for these particular founders, we call it the Start Fund program because it's only $150,000. So it gives them breathing room. We had one founder say to us, "Now I can buy a computer." So you're right in the sense that I think some of that immediate pressure is off, but the flip side to that is that these founders now have some breathing room to focus on the product and acquiring users.
Your bet being that they'll be able to keep that focus and that broader strategy. You know, the word bubble keeps getting used out here to describe how easy it is in some ways to get funding right now, and the valuations that have put on some of those successful businesses that have been built out. You know, the $50 billion put on Facebook and the like. What do you describe? How do you see the environment right now? Are we just simply seeing too many people coming up with business ideas needing easy money?
No, I think, we don't call it a bubble. I mean, if you want to call it a bull market, I think it's a great time for an entrepreneur to start a business, partly because there are more investors who want to invest in startups, and also more importantly, there are value-add investors who can offer helpful advice and guidance for startups who want to start businesses. I think there's an important distinction between starting a company and building a company. We like to think that everybody who has the guts to start a business should be given that chance, but not everybody should be given the chance to build a business. If it's not working, you should probably maybe go a different direction.
What do you think of being able to offer outside investors stakes in some of these privately held firms? A lot of controversy around that idea that Goldman Sachs was going to allow high net worth investors buy a piece of Facebook. I mean, does that change how a business functions to have outside money in there?
It's harder for me to say because we really focus on the startup model. I think it's...
Would you discourage some of the entrepreneurs?
No, because
from doing that?
I think it's a case-by-case situation. For some companies, it's a really good program. It's an alternative source of liquidity. For some companies, it may have sort of unintended consequences for their employees as well, in terms of certain people being able to quote-unquote cash out and others not being able to. So I think it's really a case-by-case situation. The companies like Facebook, Zynga, Twitter, those are really the outliers. And that's why I think they can be treated on an individual basis.
You talked about some of the trends here, social media and mobile being the two dominant ones. I mean, how much change can you expect to see? How much innovation in that front coming out of this area in the next 5 to 10? I mean, do you see a complete change in how consumers absorb, how they buy, how they function with the broader community?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I mentioned it earlier in terms of the mobile device being the ideal device to consume and create social media. And I think, and if you also look at the broadband, or excuse me, the 3G and wireless penetration, it's at the same point as broadband penetration in 2003. I think if you look at in other words, more and more people are going to have access to these rich services and applications. And I think you'll see a huge change in the types of behavior and applications that people use using the mobile phone.
You're watching the world change right now.
Right now, yeah.
That's amazing.
It's the funnest part of the job.
David, thank you so much for coming in.
Alrighty.
And sharing your strategies with us. I appreciate it.